let's take this scenario. This is a desert, and unfortunately, our friend Bob happens to be stuck there. You might have heard that we're mostly made up of water. So if you were stranded on a desert, like Bob, naturally your biggest fear would be running out of water. And it's a valid fear. There's a lot of ways we end up using our water. Our cells and internal biochemistry, sweating, and of course you always lose some of your water to urine. So here's a question I wondered. How do we know to pee less when we're dehydrated? Here's a story. When you're dehydrated, your blood thickness changes accordingly. When you drink frequently, you have thinner blood, whereas if you're stranded on a desert, like Bob, you likely have thicker blood. Here's why it matters. We have these internal sensors called baroreceptors in our body. For example, we have one on our carotid artery. Now, as soon as this sensor realizes that we have thicker blood, it sends a signal to the pituitary gland, saying that we are running low on water. In response, the pituitary gland releases a hormone called ADH into our bloodstream. As ADH travels throughout our blood, it ends up reaching the kidneys. This is a major organ responsible for deciding what ends up being lost from our blood to the urine. Now, the kidney is a pretty big organ, and it's actually made up of a lot of smaller units called nephrons. These nephrons feature a long tube that receives blood from one end and filters out our waste products via urine at the other end. When we have ADH floating in our bloodstream, it reaches lots of cells, but most importantly, ADH interacts with the cells lining the collecting duct. This is the last segment of the tubule inside the nephron. ADH will then diffuse out of the bloodstream to meet a host protein on the collecting duct cells. By attaching to this protein, ADH causes the cell to make a channel, gradually allowing water to enter and pass through the cell from our urine. Now, this is a really important concept because typically we lose a lot of water from our urine. But if we have ADH present, these channels on the cells can help us reabsorb a lot of the water we had originally planned on losing via urine. This basically explains how our body decides to save water when we're dehydrated. To summarize, when we're dehydrated, we have thicker blood. This thick blood is then recognized by our body, sending a signal to our pituitary gland. This gland responds by secreting a hormone called ADH, and this hormone makes sure we reabsorb more water into our blood than previously. This is why we have lower urine volumes when we are dehydrated. Our body is actively trying to save water. Now, it's important to remember that being dehydrated is overall a very unhealthy state, and this is merely a protective mechanism that cannot last forever. So, if you don't drink any water, you will eventually lose it all in the end. If you enjoyed learning about how our body decides to save water, please like this video. If you are interested in learning more about the inner workings inside our bodies, along with more biology and chemistry videos, then please subscribe. Thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next video.